Talk about it a little bit. The next page after this page contains entitled "Are you a winner or a whiner?" Now my husband thinks it's a little harsh, and I think my management team thought it was a little harsh when I passed it out to them too. But I truly believe that but I like it. I think it's pretty concise, and I think it's pretty to the point. Which is, you could balance it. Is it to the point or is it blunt? And I think if you read through this, and then you refer back to those characteristics that you listed, of that leader that you've identified in your life, I'll bet most of you have very few of the characteristics of a whiner. I bet if you look back, you look at this and look at the whiner characteristics, and you turn back and look at what you listed as things that of characteristics of that person, that you wouldn't have a lot of the whiner characteristics there. You have but I'll bet you could match some of the winner characteristics. There's a little bit of whiner in all of us, we have to admit, once in a while. But if you think about how you want to behave when you are newly in a workforce, or even when you're leading a group of your co-students here, or interacting with a group of friends, I think you respect the individual that has more of the winner traits than the whiner traits. So I like it. Might be a little harsh, but some cold, cruel realities, I guess. In the very last page, I really like this poem by Maya Angelou. I think it's more life lessons, and again, life lessons or leadership lessons as far as I'm concerned. And the one lesson here that says, "I've learned that life sometimes gives you a second chance." If you have some of those characteristics that maybe are less flattering on the whiner versus the winner page, you have a second chance. You're all very young, and you've got a lot of time to modify your behaviors or look at your behaviors and think, geez, do I do that, and how are others perceiving me? There's a lot of discussion about our leaders born or our leaders developed, and we all can influence our behaviors, every one of us. And certainly, people are born, there are young people who are more outgoing, and there are folks that are more charismatic, but there has to be some substance behind charisma. In my position, I've seen a lot of resumes, and those resumes where you see that people are at jobs 2.5 years, and they're changing jobs every couple of years, which probably is more the norm today than it was 20 years ago. But still, when you look at those resumes, you have to wonder, did the charisma get them the job, but then there's not the substance there to have them stay in the position or keep the job or be happy a couple of years later. So, some of the folks that are very charismatic and outgoing and make a great first impression, you got to have the substance behind you and the values that carry you through. So you do have a second chance if you think you have some of those less flattering traits. Try and work on the behaviors, and as you move forward, and you certainly are young people and have a lot of time. What are your thoughts? Some feedback on the characteristics of a leader, or any questions about healthcare?
Like at the hospital, how hard do you guys have to fight for retaining customers, because there are many hospitals in this county? So is it as competitive as other industries would be?
Well, certainly for us, we don't have a hospital on the next on the next block, so there is a we have, to some degree, we have somewhat of a captive audience, but our society is very mobile, and people travel for health care, and people definitely travel out of our community for health care, in even things that we offer. So we do have some competition, not as much as in the urban areas where there's a hospital 6 blocks away. And we monitor that. We know what, we have reports we can get from our hospital association that tell us in this certain diagnosis how many people receive services at this hospital versus that hospital. So we look to see is our market share increasing or decreasing, and in what areas, and we use that when we do strategic planning.
Kind of along those lines, do you have any pointers on how you market the hospital?
Well, we try and follow current trends and what are people looking for. We sometimes have focus groups. When we redid the OB unit, the maternity unit, we had focus groups because we thought we knew what women wanted and families wanted, and it certainly gave us some different opportunities. So you look at what's in the literature, what does the community want, and then from what the community wanted, kind of also then drives your marketing. If they're telling you they want a family-centered atmosphere where their kids can come in, when you do the marketing, that's the terminology that you use. Marketing healthcare, as a young man said, we're a small community hospital, and how much competition do we have? So, we still certainly do quite a bit of marketing, and especially the fringe areas, that we want to, can we capture versus going elsewhere? And we do a lot of market analysis and data analysis, and that also drives future marketing. If we see we're losing market share in a certain segment and there's not a reason for it, we certainly lost market share in orthopedics because we lost the orthopedic surgeon. But if there's another area that surprises us, then we would concentrate our marketing there. Other questions about healthcare? We've been very...
One quick question. For some students here, this may be the first time they've even thought about the possibility of working in the healthcare industry, particularly those with a business background. If that's the case, where would you advise them to begin thinking about or looking at? How do you move into the industry with a business background?
Well, we employ quite a few people with non-clinical backgrounds. With billing department, HR, the finance department is a very important function, and normally, even in a small hospital, you wouldn't be entry level into the the CFO position. You'd come into a controller position or a staff accounting position, and then have mobility from there. But HR is an area that you could go into in a larger institutions. The marketing and development. Physician practices, our VP for physician practices has a marketing degree. So there are lots of opportunities in healthcare, and certainly the tertiary centers are far more competitive and put many more resources and efforts into the business side of things. But